Hello, everybody. I am here today with a mid-year market update where I'm going to let you know how the last 6 months have gone in the Calgary real estate market. I'm going to talk about the current market conditions that we're in right now at the beginning of July. And I'm going to let you know my insights as we look ahead to the latter half of the year in 2021 here in Calgary. We have had a very, very great start to our market this year, but now social distancing restrictions are coming off, things are starting to open up, and people are asking themselves, how is the real estate market going to change as we start to get back to normal? Well, I'll share my thoughts on that too. I'll give you some insight as to what I think you should do if you're considering buying in Calgary or if you're a seller in our marketplace. And we'll also share a little bit of insight as to what you might be seeing in the media. Are you looking forward to a mid-year market update? All right, well, let's get going. Okay, well, look, the really good news about our market is that we have had a change of pace in the Calgary market. And what I mean by that is it used to be very cold. It used to be very slow here. Calgary was kind of, and Alberta were kind of the ugly ducklings in the Canadian real estate market. But right now we have had fantastic momentum to start the year. So what I'd like to do is just share my screen with you here and tell you a little bit about where we are at with the Calgary real estate market right now here at the end of June. So what you're looking at right now is a update sheet from the Calgary Real Estate Board where they provide a general snapshot as to where our market is. Now, there's a couple stats in here that are really relevant to where we're at. And the first one is our year-over-year price increases. We have seen double-digit price increases, up over 11% on the year in terms of where prices were in last June to where they are right now. We're sitting at an average residential price of just under $460,000 at $458,300. And we've got great indications all over the marketplace right now. We've got great sales activity, up 65% from last year. But in last June, we were in the middle of the pandemic where there just wasn't as much showing activity. But other than that, everything else is looking really great for our real estate market right now. And one of the key things to look at is the months of supply. So the months of supply metric is what I use as the barometer of a real estate market. And if you're under 2.5 months worth of supply, you're considered to be in a seller's market. If you are over 2.5 months worth of supply, you're considered to be in a buyer's market. You can see here right now, we are right around 2.5, so very much an even market in Calgary. It's a very healthy market for both buyers and sellers, and a great sign for our marketplace because we're not too cold, we're not too hot. Buyers can buy with confidence, sellers can have confidence that they will have buyers. So a great place to be within our market here right now. What I'd also like to do is just give you some quick insights about how we got here and how our year has been so far, because this has been a year unlike any other that we've had for the last half decade in Calgary. If you look over here in the top left, we're looking at the total sales of every year to date that we've had up to this point of the year, going back to 2011, 10 years. And you can see here the amount of sales that we've had so far has far exceeded everything that we've had here in the downturn. And we're back up to the same levels that we were at prior to the change in the oil prices and the sort of beginning of the economic downturn here in Alberta that started in 2015. So it's great to see that we're back up to these same levels again. People are purchasing more real estate, they're buying with confidence, they're making the moves that they want for their families and their lifestyles. And it's great to see the clouds parting over our market right now and a little bit of sun shining in as people are making moves within the real estate market with a lot of confidence. We've got lots of new listings here as well. We actually have more selection now for buyers than they ever would have had at any other June in the last 10 years. So lots of great real estate opportunities out there for anybody who's looking to get into the market. And if you come down here, you can see also how our pricing picture and our inventory picture has changed as well. So you can see here, as this last 6 months have started to gain momentum in Calgary, we've seen greater and greater pricing increases. We started off the year here at the beginning of January at about $425,000 as our average price. And now we're sitting up here at about just under $460,000. So lots of great momentum here, lots of great interest and buyer interest in our market. This is buoyed, of course, by record low interest rates as well, as buyers are looking to jump into the market. but also, of course, as the importance of real estate in the eyes of the consumer has really increased. We've been asked to spend more time in our houses over the last year and change. And what that has meant is that more and more people are valuing their real estate and they're happy to spend more money on it because we're spending more time within it. So a great sign there too. The other thing to look at is this graph over here, the total month's worth of inventory. So again, the month's worth of supply as a trend. And you can see here, the trend has fallen since the beginning of 2020 all the way down here into 2021. So buyers have come off of the sidelines and said, look, we want to go and make the move. We're going to go and jump into the market. And this is, again, a really great thing to see here as it's shown the broader national economy that this black cloud that is hung over the Calgary market and the Alberta market is shed away. It's gone now. We are now in a very similar position as other major markets in Canada have been at other times over the last few years, with double-digit price increases, record sales numbers, and a very, very healthy real estate market. So all really good news to see there. One more graph here to quickly show you here is a price change graph. And you can see here how this has really taken off. This little red line over here kind of up and down a little bit over the last 5 years as we worked our way through a really challenging economic condition here in Alberta. But in the last year and change, we've now shot up here with double-digit price increases as people are taking advantage of the affordability within our marketplace. So really cool to see all of that, and something that I think is a great sign for our local economy. All right, so what's happening in the media? Let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so let's take a little look at what you've been seeing within the headlines, and they've been mimicking what we've been seeing throughout the data. So here's some news story talking about how our market has changed from what it had been over the last few years. There's a different story about the Alberta real estate market right now, and Calgary is certainly leading the way with respect to that. So we have seen headlines now that have furthered buyer interest within our market. We're seeing the bidding wars, we're seeing the rising prices. That's making the headlines. It's raising eyebrows about our market here in Calgary and really helping to fuel the interest that we have within our marketplace. In addition to that, it's not only the sales market that has been active, but the rental market has been just as active as well. You don't see as much press about the rental market because the stats aren't tracked as much, but we have a property management company here at our business, and I can tell you our rental listings are moving just as quickly as our sales listings are. We are seeing rents starting to increase, especially for properties with a bit of size and a bit of space, a more pandemic-friendly living environment. If you've got those 3 bedrooms and 1,500 square feet or more, you are going to get more rent for your property than you would have in years past here in Calgary. And this is making the press, and we are seeing continued investor interest in our market, as not only can investors expect pricing gains as we head into the latter half of 2021, but they can also see increased rents, a great position to be in if you're seeking to purchase a property for investment purposes. Great rental markets, very healthy resale market, almost everything that you're looking for when choosing to a market to invest in for real estate. So great news from there too. Now, where are the sales happening and where's all this happening? Well, we talked about this earlier in the year. It is these suburbs that are seeing the action right now. More and more people are seeking more space to live in. They want to be closer to the newer amenities and these newer development communities that have the types of things that families are looking for. And so we've seen the shift away from the inner city markets and more towards a suburban environment. And this is making the press as well. As the suburban market and all of the supply there has been drawn down. The suburban detached market has been a very, very active and a very, very healthy place to be for the Calgary real estate market, and that's making the press as well. Now, one of the most important things that's starting to make the news now, and this is really relevant for anybody that is living in Calgary right now and kind of on the fence about buying, is that we look extremely affordable relative to other markets in Canada, in particular the GTA, where the average sale price for a property is up near $1 million versus under $500,000 here in Calgary. A very stark difference in terms of affordability, and that has an awful lot of buyers from Eastern Canada looking at Calgary and looking at Alberta as a potential destination for their home, their family. They can get more house for their dollar, and they're not squeezed out of it as they might be in the GTA area that has year over year over year a very, very active, very, very healthy market there in terms of price growth. But here in Calgary, we're much more affordable, and it's got buyers looking at our market, and buyers are asking themselves, could I make my home in Calgary because it's so much more affordable than what I've got in Ontario? So this is definitely going to be the key story to watch for the latter half of the year in Calgary, because as the restrictions for the pandemic start to come off, there is this expectation that we're going to see increased interprovincial migration. More people will be apt to move. And as a result of that, they may be asking themselves, where can I get the best value for my real estate? And Calgary is certainly going to be at the top of the value-based discussions across the country right now because of our affordability. So watch this story, guys. It's certainly something that I'm going to be watching for the latter half of the year. In addition to that, we're coming up to the end of our video here, but we've got the Stampede is coming back. We've got better economic activity right now. Certainly keen to see the vibrancy come back to our city. Didn't have a Stampede last year, but we've got one this year. So something that I think is going to be a great time to be in Calgary over the latter half of July here. It's going to be a lot of fun as we start to come out. But it will be really interesting to see as the business community comes back and the pandemic restrictions come off, we should start to see employment start to work its way back up in again. Retail should hopefully come back. Restaurants are going to be opening up again. So hopefully that pulls more people into our province from outside of Alberta right now through increased jobs and through increased market activity. Certainly something that we'll be watching here for all of our real estate investors that track those types of stats. So that is a little bit of information, guys, about where our market is right now and where we're going. Really quickly, if you're a buyer, potential buyer in Calgary right now, you can buy with confidence. I think it's very unlikely that Calgary is going to see a significant regression in pricing to what we've had in the years prior to 2020. I do believe that those times are past our market right now, and that buyers can buy with confidence that there's a much greater likelihood of pricing increases than decreases just based on our relative affordability. If you're a seller in Calgary right now, one thing to watch would be whether or not inventory levels start to jump up as the pandemic restrictions start to decrease. So very important for you to watch your local market, contact a Redline realtor to get insight about exactly what the market conditions are like where you live. Because if we see a lot more supply hit the market right away, we are in an even market here right now, you might not be able to capture the maximum value for your property that you might be able to if you perhaps deferred it to look a little bit into the fall to perhaps capture a greater buyer interest after this sort of instance of pandemic restrictions coming off. I personally do feel that the general community is going to be looking to do things like travel and get out there and socialize a little bit more, and might not be thinking quite as much about the real estate market. So if you're a seller, do look at the local market conditions very carefully, but you can also expect to get a lot of interest for your property, more so than you would have prior to the pandemic. So very exciting time here right now. In terms of what lies ahead for our marketplace here in Calgary, I don't know if we're going to see as much activity for the latter half of the year as we had in the first one. I think we will see a little bit of a break here, but long term, I think we've got lots of runway in front of us right now for our real estate market. Lots of room to grow here relative to other markets in Canada. So a great place to be in the real estate market here in Calgary. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Really enjoyed our market here so far. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to us and have yourselves a wonderful summer.